What's good, everybody? RainbowFur, Terrellion, Crimsonite, back at you with another episode of Yapping Hours. This episode, we're going to talk about if story mode matters in games that are primarily focused on multiplayer. Now, if you watched the last video, we actually kind of alluded to this video, so now you're going to get the whole experience. Now, when we say if it matters, there are people who they play multiplayer games like Call of Duty or fighting game, and they say, I don't care about the story. Whatever happens, happens. I just want to see the gameplay. I just want to play the game. And that's someone like Crim. That's someone like Terrell. And then me, the story matters to me, especially for the game you see on screen, which is kind of where this conversation started and where we want to talk about it. And even get your thoughts at the end of this video. So make sure to stick till the end. But the primary person, obviously, that we had a discussion with this Crimsonite, so let us know, do you think story mode matters in multiplayer games, or games that strictly are about multiplayer?
Me personally, I do not care at all. Like, I just enjoy the game for the game. Several games, you already know the biggest one is Mortal Kombat. We're like two very different fans. Like you're always angered because they let me, the story was bad, the story isn't me. I'm just here enjoying my combos and shit, mollywopping online, and then you're over here ranting about like Noob Saibot was a throw pick, you should have seen a story, and I'm like, I do not care, Noob Saibot made it back. So like me, when it comes to like multiplayer games, I don't know, I just don't think it matters. Like I brought it up last episode, Overwatch. I did not know jack shit about the lore, I'm not gonna lie. I just played the characters that I thought looked cool.
Yeah, the only thing you really knew is that Tracer was a lesbian.
Yeah. And then same thing goes
and then
for
it spiraled from there.
I'm trying to think of what else. Street Fighter is another one that I really don't care about the story mode. The only reason why I know about some of the story is because you explained it to me. But other than that, I really didn't care. Like I did not care about the story mode about Street Fighter so much that when Street Fighter 6 came out, sure, I did the world tour, but I only did that just so I can get all the character outfit 2s for free. I just rushed by the story mode. I couldn't care less. I completely forgot what happened in the story mode because I just want to get my skins and then go online, hit the lab, etc., etc.
My quick take on this is that if there is a fighting game, well, if we're talking just fighting games right now, the fighting game where story matters is 100% Mortal Kombat. Every other fighting game is like, who gives a shit? Like, it's good that there is a story, and the fact that a story is the fact that a story exists within other fighting games, it just helps for understanding more about character lore, right? You don't really necessarily need to like play the story mode to figure all that out. Just like read a lore log, because like some games will just give you a character's little brief lore log, whatever. You can read through that, and it's like, okay, I understand the gist of what this character's about. That's fine.
Which I'm kind of iffy on those, but continuing.
Okay, yeah. But with Mortal Kombat, though, in my opinion, this is the game where it's like, I have only interest in its story mode, not even the game. All the other fighting games, it's all gameplay. And
well, then
story mode, I'll try it out if it's interesting and if they put effort into it with cinematics and whatnot. But Mortal Kombat, I don't give a fuck about the gameplay. Show me the story.
it's because you don't play Mortal Kombat.
I have played it before, and the main reasons why I don't like it is because there's a button to block, which is absolutely stupid.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's actually me being a huge Mortal Kombat fan. I've always found that stupid too. Like, let us just hold down back.
Yeah, it should just be down back, but Ed Boon
and
WB.
If the way they made the game, it has to be a block button, because especially now with the cameo system, yeah. Not going to get into that because that's kind of losing the blood plot. I'm a sucker for story mode, especially for MK, which once again you see on your screen, and once again the story mode, especially the DLC pack for it, pissed me off. Here's the thing. Well, let me talk about fighting games first, right? With fighting games, a lot of people, especially newcomers, right? A lot of people are just like, who is this guy? Who is that chick? I know them because I've seen them before, but I want to know more about them. So when they get to the gameplay part, let's say someone wants to play Cammy, right? They probably suck at fucking using the character, but they like the character. Maybe it's the way she looks, and maybe it's her lore. There could be a bunch of things. But if you don't give characters like some kind of background and like have a good story mode, they might as well just be like silhouettes.
Yeah, the
They might
game's
as well
too
be,
soulless at that point. I get what you mean. Normally, people, but here's the thing: nobody cares necessarily like what the exact story is. Every time I look up YouTube videos like for fighting games, and I'll branch out to other genres of games, but for now, fighting games. Every time you look at somebody's YouTube video that's like, "Who should you play in this fighting game?" They're never like, "Well, let's analyze Ryu for a second. Ryu, he's been fighting all his life, and he's got this like." Gi, and he's got this sack on his back and he travels the world. Nobody fucking explains characters to that degree. They say Ryu's a fucking Shoto. You're gonna shoot fireballs and do Tatsu kicks. Oh, you're interested in Cammy? Cammy's got a drill kick. She's got a stance where she can like leap up and grab you or kick. Like they explain characters like that. They're not gonna give you a full lore breakdown.
That's the real for longer. Okay.
The point is they give you a full character breakdown of the moveset, never the lore. So
right, because that's what you're looking for. But for other people, like I said, like myself, and by the way, I played the game, so I didn't watch it. I experienced this shit, which is why I was so invested in
this game.
Yeah,
we all watched the story mode together. You're fucking lying. Stop.
But I played the story mode. Like
okay, but we all first watched it together, and then you played it afterwards. You watched it first before you fucking played it.
Okay, I don't remember that. I'm just gonna
remember.
say, yeah, I'll just say you could take that one. Like, if I did, I did. But regardless, like I wanted to still play the game and still like be invested because I've been invested in this game. I know we keep talking about Mortal Kombat, but it's kind of the prime reason we're talking about this. Ever since I was 3, like my mom introduced me to this franchise, and we've been like into it ever since. The games I haven't played in this franchise are like 2. Like I played like all of them, right? So that's why I'm invested in the story mode. But for story modes in general, people, even developers honestly, but people focus so much on gameplay that whether they think about story mode or not, it doesn't matter to them. So since it's since it's more of an afterthought, they just cobble the shit together, right? Like with this game, there's some things I like, there's some things I didn't like, whatever. In Street Fighter, it was travel around the world, be the world warrior, and see and train with your favorite Street Fighter characters. But there's actually story mode that you only saw in like 5 cutscenes, right? And for those who don't want to look it up on YouTube, I got you.
You had a rival named Bosch. You're training with Luke, who is the new protagonist of the game, essentially. And then at some point, Bosch comes back, but Jerry kidnaps him. The next time you see Bosch, he's basically a Kuma. And then you go to a tournament that the new villain is hosting and shit, but he wants to like blow up the arena and shit. Like there were things happening, but it was so fucking sparse. Like from here's like the beginning, and here's where the middle is, and here's the one cutscene. And like it was so sparse because all they wanted you to focus on was meet the characters from Street Fighter, build a character, boom, cool.
Now, I know Turtle's gonna bring it back to fighting games, but this isn't just fighting games. Oh, okay. I
was gonna give an example actually of a different game. Did you guys care about the story of Elden Ring?
Yes.
Okay, Crim.
No, not really.
Oh, okay. So
I just like to challenge myself and fight the bosses and throw my controller across the room.
Yeah, for me, honestly, I couldn't even follow that story. I had no goddamn clue what was going on. Like, even if I wanted to follow it, even if I cared, I couldn't. I was so lost.
That one's, to be fair, that's like, if you really cared about the story like that, whether you were like a story person or not, that's a game where I would not be mad at you if you didn't care about the story, because a lot of the world and lore and all that is actually found in like the items you pick up and like the secret areas that you find and all the missions or side quests and all that. So I'm not shocked. Like, and that's why I like open world games that actually want you to play open world. Fuck you, Ubisoft. because it's actually fun to go around the world and do other shit and be like, oh, yo, this is a character I'm invested in. Where are they gonna go when I come over here or what have you? But like I said, Elden Ring is kind of iffy. It has a story mode, but then it kind of doesn't, and it's like there's a lot of things happening, but you won't notice until you like look deep into it, whatever.
Yeah.
But an example that is actually a hero shooter, and it's not Mobile Rivals, because Mobile Rivals is kind of doing a story mode, which I'll get into that in a second.
But Overwatch, when Overwatch 1 came out, they're like, hey, they made comics, they made like cinematics, they had like, lore, things to read off.
Yeah, like the whole war, right, between like the robots and whatnot, right? Something like that.
Yeah, and Overwatch's headquarters got blown up, so it was kind of like, if y'all seen The Incredibles, it was kind of like that. Whereas like something dramatic happened for people to hate Overwatch, and like essentially they're like outlawed, like you can't be a hero, essentially. That was essentially how the plot started, obviously with the robots, I forget what they're fucking called. And then like some of them come together in little bands, be like, hey, we gotta save the world, and we can't just sit back and just let things blow up, right? So there in the story, you would see like some of the characters, like when Torbjorn met Bash and Torbjorn wanted to fuck his shit up, but then he's like, hey, you know what, you're not so bad, right?
Let me cut you off here. Yeah, I know. Let me cut you off here
Yeah,
for a
I was
second.
going through the whole lore. Like, ugh.
Crim, do you know any of the stuff he's talking about? Are you aware of any of that Overwatch lore? Or did you just find out about all that shit right now?
Yeah, I guess I just found out about it right now. When I see Torbjorn, when I see Torbjorn, I just see him as the funny little turret guy. Here's my auto aim turret.
Right, but it's not even like the story mode, because you also hear the voice lines and everything too. But that's where you get you have characters. Like, it's like little things that build up. Even if you only focus on the gameplay, it's those little things that build up. Especially because, have y'all ever watched a video where it's like, hey, here's all these voice lines based on like the characters they interact with? Like, genuinely asking, even one video, doesn't matter even what the game is.
No, I get what you're saying. Like, I did that for Mobile Rivals, where you're talking about like you just hear all the voice lines for a new character that comes out, because you know that's going to be too difficult to actually hear it all. Like while just playing the game, it's just better to watch the YouTube video. Yes, I have, and I get what you're saying here. You're saying that it's important to have story for games, because even like fighting game as well, because if you didn't, the characters would just be like soulless silhouettes, as you've already mentioned. They'd just be boring and bland. But because they have a story, it adds more of a reason for you to actually like the character. Even if you don't give a shit about the actual story mode, it gives you a reason to like and enjoy them. Like there's purpose in the way that they walk. There's purpose in the way that they fight. There's purpose in the way that they talk. Like the way they speak, their mannerisms and shit. It's all from the story mode. Like if a character's an asshole, it's because of the story mode. It's because of his lore, right? That's basically what you're saying. And you wouldn't like that character if there wasn't story behind him, because then the developers would just create a bunch of blank canvases, and it's just like they're nothing.
Like they were like the Smash Melee, the fucking what were those things called? Like the
I think I know what you're talking about.
Like the bots. Yeah. It would just be that. It's just boring. Like I said, like there's one example that like at first it was fine, but then it really started to piss me off. Valorant. You didn't get a story mode. You essentially
There's no story mode for that?
There's a story mode, but it's like so tucked in a way, like you wouldn't know.
It's tucked into like the trailers and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's in trailers. Like there was no like, okay, hey, here's some missions where you play as this character, right? Like you had to really look to see what the story was about.
It's the same thing with League of Legends. Like that's what Riot tends to do. The story is tucked into the voice lines. And it's also tucked into character reveal trailers. So when a new character gets revealed, the old characters will interact with the new character in weird ways. It's like, what the hell? What's the relationship there? And you kind of put all the puzzle pieces together based off of like the random information that you've compiled. Yeah,
and then they kind of, I want to say they rectified it, but it kind of changed a little bit with Arcane. Like. If I ask these two niggas, if I ask these two niggas about, do you know who Jinx is? Do you know her deal? Before Arcane, these niggas would have said, who's Jinx? Now, obviously,
that's not fair though, because none of us played League of Legends. That's not fair.
Right. I'm kind of exaggerating in this regard.
Okay.
they wouldn't know who she is. But the moment they saw Arcane, they know what she was about. They know like her, like every little thing like about her. Maybe not everything, obviously, but like they know the character. They're invested in her story.
But isn't that
All-
because
all
they
that good
changed
shit.
the League of Legends games and not the story mode of League of Legends?
No, it's because I think it's literally because of the story mode. Because like Terrell said, with League of Legends, it's just tucked away in voice lines and like unless you're watching the cinematic trailers and like looking like, oh my gosh, they made a reference to that like it's a fucking Marvel movie. You don't know what the fuck is going on. You just know
Yeah.
character does this flash. Oh my gosh, wow, that is fucking crazy. It's like you wouldn't know, which is why I hated Destiny 1. I know I'm like going all over the place. Destiny 1. You want to know how you got the lore for that game when the game first started? It wasn't in game. You had to go to their website to look at their trading card game, or it wasn't a trading card game, but it was cards. To know
But I
what
feel
the
like you
fuck
really-
even happened.
You just like again. If I were to play that game, I wouldn't care. I just play a fucking game. I feel like you just gotta be deeply involved, like a motherfucker like you, to care about all that.
Right, but then that's where I can like enjoy the game. Like if I'm like, oh, gameplay sucks, whatever. I'm still like invested into like what's happening.
Okay.
Like me personally.
Not
This
me.
is
The
a
game
me
sucks,
personally
it sucks.
thing.
It's good.
So you only care about story for single player games, Krim, right?
Yeah, mainly.
Okay. But I'm trying to think, like, is there not a single multiplayer game that you can think of where you gave a shit about story mode?
I'm actually trying to think of some right now.
So I think that there's a game I can think of that is multiplayer that people do care about story mode. Or not story mode, but like the story.
I mean, I'm looking at the Maya games right now. I can't find any.
Okay, well, I don't even think you play this one. I know Rainbow has before, but Borderlands. Like,
Oh yeah.
like Borderlands is multiplayer, and I think a lot of people who play that shit care about the story mode. Like, you're not just like playing the game and looting and killing. You're also, I would say, a lot of people pay attention to what's actually happening around them.
Yeah,
Like,
because
dude-
the game had so much personality.
Do they
Yeah.
do something different for us to care about the story in a multiplayer game? Is that the reason? I'm confused.
It's a looter shooter, so essentially like you're gonna be going all over the place to loot shit anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like Fallout. Like if you wanted to know like what was happening or you want to interact with some characters, what missions they got, you did that. But because the game had like so much personality and all the characters were like because they were like had a big personality, especially Tiny Tina, which they invested a little too much time for her. But especially like characters like that, it was like, oh my god, I love this character. Like for whatever reason, like I wonder what like she's about, all that good stuff. So Borderlands kind of hit the middle at that point.
You fell in love with the character personalities, and because you're falling in love with character personalities, you when you're like doing side missions and side quests, aren't there like branching paths for those too in Borderlands? So maybe like if you do a choice, you can't like do a mission for another character. So it's like, oh yeah, I want to just do missions for this person. So like you're paying attention just so you're only doing certain stuff for certain characters that you care about.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
I'm not 100% certain. I've only played Borderlands 2.
It's been a while since I played the
It's
OG
been a while.
Borderlands. So.
Yeah.
So like that's why I care about story, is because like I said, like I played video games. Well, back in the day, maybe it's changed a little bit for me. I doubt it. When I play video games, and it's for video games in general, I don't want to think about other shit besides the game. Like I want to like be like, okay, you know what? Everything out here sucks. Let me play my video game. Let me like see what this and that is about. You know, I'm interested, because it's the same thing like watching a movie. When you watch a movie, when you watch a show, you're not just gonna go, no, I'm just here just to see it, I guess. Maybe I'll fast forward it so I see some fight scenes. Man, wait, where did that come from? Right? It's like skipping a cutscene in fucking a video game, and then you're fighting God. You know, like
I love that meme so much.
so it's like you're just like, wait, like for the people who skip cutscenes, you go from like you're in your own village, you're like, oh, he have fun, and then the next moment, like, it's fucking Attack on Titan, all your family and friends are dead, you have to escape the village and shit, and it's just like, where did this come from? You wouldn't know because didn't you weren't there, you didn't like
Yeah,
flip the
but
shit.
again, that's like some solo player shit. Like if you skip, I don't know, if you're skipping like story in a single player and then you're confused afterwards, that's literally a you problem. But like again, if it's multiplayer, I don't care. That's the only time a story mode ever matters, just single player games, because that's mainly what you're doing in a single player game. Like sure, the genre might be different, RPG, platform, whatever, but each one has a story and you're playing it for the story.
Yeah, you
So,
seem
like,
to be
that's the
playing it for the story. And multiplayer games are designed typically for gameplay.
Yeah,
Like, gameplay is prioritized versus story,
Mainly,
and then single player
yeah,
tends to prioritize story more.
especially
Right.
like
Even, with that being said,
Wait, what do you
here's a
mean?
quick hot take. I'll say it after Chris. Go ahead, Chris.
I said, oh, maybe it's just I don't know. It's the way I see it. Like if I boot up a multiplayer game and I'm like, oh man, I don't want. I just like, oh man, I want to play with Terrellion and Rainbow. I mean, yeah, let's fuck some shit up. Not. Hey guys, let's look into the lore of these characters.
And and I don't want keep your hot take in mind. But there's times maybe you don't want to play with the boys, but you want to play the game. So maybe
I have
it's
that
like,
a
hey,
lot. I have that a lot.
It's like oh, you know what? Let me play story mode. Fuck it. I don't really want to play like ranked or quick play. You know, let's see what this is about.
I don't know if I'm just different, but I've never really had that. If I want to play the game without you guys, I just solo queue or something. Solo queue or just do online matches, casual matches if it's like a fighting game or something.
Okay, now that's your hot take. I hope you didn't forget it.
Okay, here's what I was going to say. I was going to say that I personally believe that if you're playing a single-player story-based game, I don't understand it if you're not making content. I'm going to keep it 1,000. I watch any game that has a deep lore and it's single-player on YouTube. Like, I watch the non-commentary walkthroughs of those. Because I just don't get why you would spend $60 for a single player experience. I know this is like a completely different conversation entirely. Maybe it could be made into a video. I don't know if people really want it, but
yeah, I mean, that
let us know in the comments.
I don't understand it. Like if like God of War, for example, what's the point in learning all these stupid combos and shit when you can just do combos in a fighting game, right? Like I'd rather just watch that juicy story on YouTube. That's all I care about. It's animated very well. It's told extremely well too. Just give me the story. I don't care to see you whack and smack a bunch of brain dead NPCs.
Okay, the content creation one is definitely a hot take because that's their job.
No,
this guy doesn't like single player games, so he might be a little bit biased.
Yeah, we never said that he does hate single player games. I'm gonna keep it short because that is kind of like an entirely different topic. At least me personally, I think it's because of how people like to play the game. Like for example, SMT. I was in the lab in that game. To you, that makes zero sense at all. But I was in the fucking lab using some crazy ass demons and shit. You can't do that. You can't just be doing that through a YouTube video from a content creator.
I know, but SMT has a story, right?
Yes.
You care about the story, right?
Yeah. But like single player games is not only for story. The gameplay has to be good too. But I feel like if you're buying a single player game, that's when you're actually at least somewhat interested in the story. But it's just when you're doing a multiplayer game.
Let me give you an example of a single player game that doesn't even have a story, and I love it to death. It's called Blatro.
Oh, you're so dumb, bro.
So these guys say that I don't like single player games. There are some single player games that are a massive exception to me, and Blatro is one of them. But it has no story, and it's fun. It's just fun to boot up, kill time, and you don't really have to. Balloons is multiplayer, but multiplayer choice. It's optional multiplayer.
Congrats, you found your one game, like, okay.
You know what else I just thought of too? Because in the gaming space now, it's all about multiplayer. Unless you're literally playing a single player game, you're making a multiplayer game. Here's the thing about that, right? because, well, especially for hero shooters, right? If you put all the games side by side, right, and you're like, okay, which one do I play? At some point, all the gameplay is going to look the same. They're like, okay, well, what characters look cool? And then you break it down like, oh, you know what? Overwatch is pretty cool, but I really love Marvel. Let me play that game, right? If every multiplayer game was the same, had the same characters, like they're just a bunch of reuse, right? Then it would just be eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I guess I'll play that game just for show, right? But that's not how games work. They gotta stand out. They have to get your wallet. The wallet needs to come out, and you need to open it and hand over the green. But how do they do that? They give you cosmetics. They show you these cool-looking characters, right? Because when you play a hero shooter, you know what you're playing. You're playing a shooter with abilities. That's what you're doing. At the end of the day, like when we all first played Valorant, right? We didn't just play Valorant just because, oh well, this is a game, it's Riot, sure, why not? I was like, yo, Phoenix, yo, that guy has swagger, bro. I can't wait to play that motherfucker. That guy has swagger, and then he fell out of the meta. But the Riot got you invested in the game because of these cool characters, and then they brought up more characters, and then there's a story mode, even though they really didn't have one. They had a little bit of a story, and they're like, well, what's this character's about? Why does he hate this chick, right? Because you hear it in the voice lines, and then guess what? Even though you're not there for single player, you're more and more invested, and then all these other games come out, and then you're like, but I'm invested in this game. Whether it was through money, whether it was through playing with the boys or whatever, I'm invested in this game. I'm not going to play these. So they have to try to get you with other shit just besides gameplay.
That being story is what you're saying.
Story, the way the characters look, cosmetics,
okay,
yada.
So here's what I think.
Crazy, though, everything you stated matters except the story. Like when you guys tried to get me to play Valorant, I was just like, oh, this character looks cool, which is like, what was her name? The snake bitch, Viper. Yeah, that's all I needed. And then when I tried to play Deadlock, I was like, who's this fat guy? Yeah, he looks cool. You already know the drill. I don't need a story for all that. I just they look cool.
But the character stood out to you, and then you were wondering what the fuck.
Here's what I think this is what I think Rainbow's trying to say. Rainbow's trying to say that the story matters in a way that you don't even understand how it matters, right? Like, if story didn't exist, these characters would be designed completely differently, and it wouldn't be as exciting. But because story does exist, it allows these characters to have a specific design, interactions and design and personality based around the story. Whether that you watch it or care about it or not, it's irrelevant. The story exists, and the reason you probably like the character is because of the story. Like, the story led to that character's design is what Rainbow's essentially saying. I think that's what right?
Essentially, yeah.
Really care about the story.
Like for example,
care about it without knowing type shit.
Yeah, exactly. You care about it, and you don't even know you care about it. I think that's what Rainbow's trying to say.
Okay, I guess that makes sense. Like, I don't know. I've always seen it like how you said it, just all without the story. Like, oh, you played this character because you thought it looked cool, because you like the interactions and all that.
Right. Like the way we both pick characters is because they look cool. I always pick characters because they look cool, right? And then the story comes next. And I can even say that Rainbow is right, because if I end up finding out that a character I'm playing is, a little woke, I end up dropping the character. So maybe Rainbow is right. Like, when I find out a character's woke, I'm like, shit, I'm not playing that character anymore. What the hell's going on with the story mode? So maybe Rainbow's right.
This guy dropped Overwatch entirely when he found out that Baptiste.
That's not true. I was still playing after they had announced that. I dropped it because they'd announced Marvel Rivals.
Yeah, no, I was trying to troll.
I knew you were playing. But Rainbow's kind of like, okay, he's kind of correct a little bit there. I feel like there's a little bit of a gray area. Like, Crim isn't going to play story mode because he's like, who cares? I'm just gonna pick the character that I resonate with. Cool, we got it. I'm the same way, but the way I am, I'm gonna pick a character that looks cool, and after I get really invested in the game, I'm going to actually seek out lore. Right? That's how I am. That's the type of player I am. I'm gonna pick cool first, and then I'm gonna seek out lore. So I'm kind of in that gray area, admittedly. And when I find out something I don't like in the lore, like woke shit, then I'm kind of like, whoa, all right, I can't really touch this character anymore. But
I sleep on the woke, yeah.
yeah, but what I think what Rainbow's saying is we indirectly appreciate lore. Like it's there. We like it, but not like for playing story mode and shit. But I think you're both arguing two completely different things. I think Crim's basically saying, fuck story mode, I'm not playing no goddamn story mode. And you're saying, you need the story mode though, bro, because, you know, your character wouldn't be as cool without it type of deal, right?
Essentially, yeah. Yeah, we would definitely be going circles.
Well, let me just say this last thing. There's a new game that just recently came out called Fatal Fury City of the Wolves. And there's a character in there named Gato, I believe, right?
I got it.
Oh,
And Crim was like, oh shit, I actually want to play Gato. And I told him, yeah, he's actually blind now in the game. You're like, what? He's blind? That's fucking sick. Right?
oh yeah.
But why is he blind? Story mode.
I don't know.
Rainbow, go ahead and close this out.
Maybe play so much video games with blue light glasses. I don't fucking know.
Well,
Hey,
story mode.
hey,
Yeah.
point
Oh,
proven.
man.
The
Yeah, no,
more you learn
yeah.
about certain things.
I got my hands up in the air like Walter Wright right now. Like, you got me. Maybe Rainbow won this. Maybe Rainbow won this.
And just like Johnny to his wife, I'm like, put my hand on his shoulders. I'm like, yeah, you know, right? Yeah, you know, right?
Look how happy he is when I slightly encourage him.
And then he's just like, I don't care for the story, but like, yeah, you're right.
Wait, that's Johnny's wife?
Crazy how you didn't know that. Yeah, that was his wife. She divorces him.
Wait, what? I mean, he won, dude. What the hell? Why did she look so messed up in the face? What is WB doing with their female characters? They're supposed to be hot. They got woke. Watch our previous episode about going woke.
All right. Yeah, so we'll finish it off with that. We're gonna go back to drinking like Johnny. With that said, we appreciate you guys watching till the end, because Lord knows this is probably once again a long video. So I do hope you guys were entertained. Let us know what you think if story mode matters to you, and share us your personal experiences with any game that has multiplayer, but you're really invested in the story. But until then, we'll see you guys on another episode of Yapping Hours.